Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
I may dip a finger in me, Shults. That's what Veruca says in the
song. She sure does. And I'm Dana Piccoli, and we are here to talk about Season 4's Wild at Heart because it's the 25th anniversary of the episode.
You both requested this episode.
I did.
Mm-hmm. I've been trying to keep to like getting people for the episodes they requested. I missed like 2 that you requested.
It's okay. I genuinely enjoy Beer Bad.
It's fun. Last time I had you both on for an Angel episode, I want you to know Amanda, who's part of our Patreon, and said this lovingly, she is a queer woman, said, Ian, I love when you have dykes on.
Yay! Oh, that makes me feel so good.
But I was like, thank you, I do too. But yes, tell me why, May, why did you request this episode?
Oh, because I've gotten my heart broken a lot, and I know exactly how Willow feels in this episode. I think it's an interesting little nugget of an episode because you have all of these beautiful moments between Buffy and Willow. You have a couple nice moments between Xander and Willow. And then you have this absolutely heartbreaking story for Willow and Oz. And even though I hate Veruca and I want her to die in a fiery hell, I do love the music that her band plays, even though the actress is very, very bad at lip syncing. Because, oh my God, why are you making that shape with your mouth for that vowel sound? That is not how it works, honey. So that always drives me crazy. But there's a lot of really interesting things in this episode, and it also sets up the idea of Willow going to that Wicca group, which is, I'm assuming, the same group where she eventually meets
never noticed
Tara.
That till this
it
watch.
is.
I was like,
is
it
the
same?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the episode sets up a lot of things that happen in season 4. So it's like from the get-go, we are like running on all cylinders, and it's to me, it's one of those quintessential Buffy episodes. It's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of humor. It really blends the supernatural with the very real, like losing your first love sort of situation. So that's why I like it.
That's fair. Yeah. And I feel like I'm appreciating season 4, especially this like first half, even more this time around. Cause what you said, Dana, I feel like it's true of a lot of these early episodes. They do a good job of like, this is going to be important later. This is character development, in this one, when Giles goes to visit them, that's important for Giles of like kind of not knowing where he fits in and like feeling, like afloat in the world, not knowing where his place is. I can really appreciate that because Buffy, the show is always good at that kind of storytelling, but I feel like this is kind of like the strongest they are at the top of the season, like so quickly with like what we will get.
Yeah.
Because like Fear itself, every one of them, their fears that they have are what they're like, what will go wrong in their friend group throughout the season. Even Oz's, because it's like, oh, he can't control the werewolf and he scratches Willow, but he doesn't really. And that's like, here it's the like he can't control the werewolf and he hurts her, just not with scratching. I do like this.
I have a question for you. Have you been watching it on Tubi? Have you checked it out on Tubi? It looks fantastic on Tubi. Really? I've been so frustrated watching like Buffy and Angel episodes like on Hulu and stuff because it's just like it just doesn't look good.
It's blown out.
I was shocked at how good it looks.
Huh. I'll have to check that out.
It looks like it was filmed yesterday.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I will have to check.
Did they do an HD upscale for it?
I don't know. But it's almost as if like you just put in the DVD and it's just boom.
Huh.
Because people will say how like Hulu has the original quality, but it doesn't look good.
No, Hulu does not have the original quality. They have the quality where for the first 2 seasons, they over brightened it. And for seasons 4 through 7, they have it in widescreen, which it's not supposed to be
You
in, which
see
is why
like
you
the
have
sound guy.
yeah, it's why you can see crew and equipment. It's why you have dead space. The shots don't look right because it was never meant to be viewed that way. So if it's in 4 to 3 on Tubi, I'm definitely going to switch to watching it there.
Take a
because
peek
I
at
just,
this episode in particular
okay,
too, May, because it looks so good.
Because
cool.
what I do is, I think I've told y'all, like, I found, I love Buffy fans. We're such nerds. I found like someone who did their own HD upscale of every single episode
Oh
and
my
Ooh.
uploaded
gosh.
them for free to Tumblr to download. Which,
That's
like,
incredible.
yeah, but now some of the links are breaking. Sometimes when I go to
Yeah.
a certain episode, it's not there anymore. Like Chosen and Hush aren't there, but like this one was, so I just downloaded it there. But like,
Uh-oh. Do you hear that? It's the FBI.
I know. They're like, "Where's the
Answer
site?"
the door, Ian. Answer the door. It's already beginning.
Yeah,
You
but
wouldn't
like,
download a car.
you downloaded one Buffy episode. But yeah, it always bothers me only because there's no captions, and I always watch everything with captions, and I'm like, I want to see the captions, and because that's how I like screenshot shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I revisiting this episode, I was reminded, which I did not forget, but reminded how upsetting Allison Hannigan's crying face is.
Oh.
Good Lord.
She's got, and you could tell that losing Seth as a screen partner
Yes.
was probably very hard for her because it
Yes.
feels very real.
It really does. It's wild that she hasn't gotten, I don't like, I mean, she's been working, so it's not like she's like hard up for, but it's wild that she didn't get more roles where she could flex
Mm-hmm.
the, like, that she's good at the drama.
I blame American Pie, frankly, because she can do it all, but yeah.
You are right. I feel like American Pie kind of did kind of like put her in that, like, oh, she's just a little like goofy, whatever. And
do you know how many times in her life she's had to hear somebody say this one time at band camp, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was younger and people would be like, oh, the girl from American Pie. And I'd be like, excuse me, that is Willow from Buffy.
I'm sorry. That is the girl from My Stepmother is an Alien.
Right?
This is the couple from My Stepmother is an Alien that breaks up. And
Yes, that is true.
But I mean, that's like, I feel like true of a lot of the Buffy actors, right? Where it's like, we know they have more than just what they are given post Buffy.
Yeah, but they were a teen show, and they weren't treated like the actual really stellar actors that they were.
Yeah, that's true. And like, because that's true. Not even really Sarah Michelle Gellar got the roles. Like, she had roles, but
Right.
it was like, yeah. This episode starts, we open on, I like, to your point earlier, Dana, about it being quintessential, I liked that this opening is just straight up Buffy's hunting a vampire.
Action, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
And I love that she's intentionally chasing him off the quad.
Yes.
What does she say? I perform better without an audience.
Yeah.
All of her quips in this opening are so good. Help us little co-ed before bed.
Yeah, it's great.
I love when she's peak confident and peak shitty, and she's being so shitty. I love it. And she says, like, when she's like, oh, eat this late, you're gonna get heartburn. Get it? Oh, all right. Because you know what? I think like in the later seasons, even starting this season, we don't get enough of just like this. Like her just like no frills vampire
right,
hunt.
because shit gets really serious like immediately in this episode, and then it doesn't really let up.
Yeah. Yes. Also, wild that James Marsters in this episode for like less than a minute or two. Because when we did
even a minute or two, it's like 30 seconds at the most. And it's so great because you're like, oh god, Spike's back, he's gonna
Yep. I love it. They're so good at doing that with Spike, like him puffing his chest and then immediately getting like torn down for it, which I love.
Because we don't know yet about the initiative.
Right. I can't remember because I had fallen out of Buffy because I missed graduation day because they delayed it. And I only went back, I think, at like the end of season 4. Dana, did you watch this live, right? Like when it aired?
Yes, I did.
Because I don't have any experience with like the mystery of the initiative. Was that kind of like a thing, or was it like no one really cared?
Oh, it was definitely a big thing that, you know, they set it up pretty well because you don't really know what's happening at first. And then as it's revealed, you're like, oh. And I thought it was very effective when I was watching it.
Because this time around, I'm like, man, I do wish the initiative was better because I do kind of like these like hints of like, there's a weird military presence here.
Right. And the fact that Professor Maggie would be like running from a werewolf like is shocking to me. You'd think that she'd just like whip out something and
right, like she'd have a gun or
but they had to do it to throw us off the initiative scent.
Well, and I love the way she talks about it with Riley and Buffy, and she's like, "You better be careful out there. I was attacked by 2 wild dogs last night. Biggest
One
things
of them
I've
looked
ever
like a
seen."
gorilla.
I will say, when that scene played, I was like, wait a minute, why would she say that to Riley? And then I rewound it and I was like, oh, she doesn't say. She like we like cut to her and Riley when she's saying like, I can't believe I survived. And then Buffy runs into them and that's when they say it was dogs. And I was like, oh, okay, that is smart because they would have to cover and she's talking about something. So, and I like for a second I was like, but why are they such good actors? But like they would have to have this bit down, right? Like talking about it without talking about it in front of like civilians.
Okay, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves because we're like we're into the second scene where they're so nervous about being in college that they went back to the Bronze like to hang out.
And they're talking like they're like old wizened kids now. Like they're like, oh, back in some comfort from back in the day. And it's like, this was like 6 months ago.
Right. Even Giles is like, well, hello.
Yeah, I love them like really driving home. Like this is comfortable. This is like, oh, this is what we used to know. Nothing changes. And then whoop, there's Dad being like, oh, I'll take it.
Latte, anyone? On me.
Latte.
Why did anyone take him up on it?
It's like, right, because the Bronze doesn't serve alcohol. I'm never quite sure if the Bronze serves alcohol.
They do.
In season 7, it does. Like it absolutely does.
Oh no, it serves it before season 7. There's an episode in season 3 after Anya loses her powers where she's like, give me a beer. And the bartender goes, ID? And she goes, I'm 1120 freaking years old. Just give me a beer. Yeah. And he's like, ID?
Got it.
And she goes, I'll take a Coke.
But like what the Bronze is a little unclear. There's a podcast called Up the Buff, a Buffy podcast. It is a good name, yes. They had me record an outro for them because they were like, they're from the UK and they're like,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
They were like, what is the Bronze? Did clubs like that exist? And I was like, kind of, but not really.
Like a 15 and up club?
Oh yeah. Did you not have any? There was one around here in New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple in Chicago. I never went to any of them. But
yeah, I never went to, it was like the cool kids went to it. I never like went to it, but there was one in like this really now I'd be like, why are people dropping kids off here? It's like, it was like a shopping center that is now demolished that like when I was a kid, it was like falling apart and like dilapidated and like everything else was closed. And it was like one of the spots in that shopping center. And it was like a little back off the road and like a really weird
spooky strip mall.
It really is like a setting for a horror movie, but that was the club that like the teens went to.
Now, did Veruca play at that club for you?
I highly doubt they could book someone like Veruca.
In the club, we all vamp.
Yeah, we all werewolves. But I also feel bad for Giles because he's just like, hey guys, and they're like, yeah. Adult. It's like, it is like, why would they? But he's never there. He isn't ever there. So like, it is kind of like, well, that's your.
I do love when he's talking about like, I'm down with the new music. I'm hip. And Buffy says, yes, but it's your cutting edge 8 tracks that keep you ahead of the scene.
And I like Oz because that would be you, May, being like, no, I saw those records. They're like good.
Yes, that would 100%
I'm
be
surprised
me.
Oz could take his eyes off Veruca to answer this question.
I've heard the critique that people don't like that it doesn't feel like Oz, but I kind of like that we haven't seen him interact with another werewolf. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that it's like, I mean, he does also cheat, but it's like also a symptom of werewolfiness that we haven't seen. So like, I'm like, I can buy it, right?
It's not Oz, it's the wolf.
Yeah.
And that shows you the internal battle that he could potentially be fighting all the time that we never see bubble up to the surface because he is such a zen and stoic person that he's figured out a way to contend with this way of life. but then something comes in and upsets that balance. And that's why things get screwy. And that's why he behaves in a way that we don't associate with Oz and we don't want to associate with Oz, because we know how dedicated he is to Willow. We know how much he loves her and that he would never intentionally do anything to hurt her. But again, like you mentioned in Fear itself, his fear is not being able to control the wolf and hurting Willow. And that's exactly what he does, just not by attacking her as a werewolf.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of indifferent about Oz. Yeah. But I get it. I get the appeal of him in this episode. And like, I think he's kind of at like his peak, like kind of like cool, sexy, conflicted kind ofness. So like it works for me, but I will say this. I still always feel like they look like siblings together. And that's always thrown me off.
Oh, gross.
Dana, like a few weeks ago, I was like, I can't remember, but one of my co-hosts always say that, and it was you.
It is me. It is me. Like they're in bed cuddling together, and I'm like, "Hello, please."
Like, why are my brother and sister cuddling like that? I don't like it.
That totally dated me. Sorry. Hello, please.
There you go. Is this where she says "Kel Fiona"? It is, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Because, like, I remember when we went through this the first time, I, like, had to be like, wait a minute, what? Like, it's weird that she uses Fiona Apple as, like, but I guess she kind of means, like, a ripoff of, like...
Right, like, sad, like, moody girl singer.
Yeah. But, like, Kel Fiona just doesn't sound like Buffy. Like,
I think it does. This is the same girl who said, this guy makes Godot look punctual. She's got such a great repertoire of witty things floating around in her head. And we know she's smart. We know Buffy is very, very smart. She just doesn't often get a chance to show that off in areas aside from her sense of humor.
And we do get that in this episode, especially with Professor Marsh being like, I like this paper.
Exactly. So I think it tracks.
All right, that's fair. When we went through it before, I had to be like, is she, I don't know why, my brain like wasn't sure if she was insulting Fiona Apple or I was like, wait, I'm not sure. But it's like, I guess more that she's ripping off Fiona Apple.
The face that Willow makes when she tries to engage with Oz and he just kind of like brushes her off, where she does this little like semi nod and you see the light go out of her eyes and she goes from this artificial smile to like this little pout. I know that look. I know that feeling. I've done that in a lot of relationships where I'm just trying to connect with someone about something and they are not giving me the time of day on it. And it hurts.
Yeah.
It really hurts because when you're trying to have a shared experience with someone and they refuse to connect with you in a moment like that, it just sours everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this reminded me of, I feel like we've all felt that, right? Maybe not this exact thing, but it's like...
It's a universal experience.
And like, I feel like immediately Willow, this season, I feel like she starts to be more confident. She starts to like dress differently. And like, this is immediately like season 1 nerdy Willow. Like she reverts back to like, like
as we do, right?
Herself. Yeah, which is relatable. And Allison Hannigan is so good at conveying that without like any lines. I don't know. And I feel so bad for her because, like you said, May, it's like, we can relate. You can relate to that.
Right.
But I also love Giles being like, oh, I think she's quite great, actually, blah, blah, blah. Like,
and that Buffy just death stare that Buffy gives him, and he doesn't look at her.
She's such a good friend.
She is.
She is.
May, I think it was you mentioned it. This episode has some really good Buffy Willow, like, best friend moments.
Oh, the best. Oh, yeah. It has great.
And I love, and even, like you said, too, even Xander, I like their moment when he's like, just talk to him about it, because that's what they should have been, right? Like, that's what should have happened.
Right. And that's what normally would have happened. But this was out of the ordinary because Willow would not have expected something like this from Oz. The only thing he's ever kept from her is that he was a werewolf. And that was right after he figured out he
Right.
was a werewolf and he was just panicked and trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to do. Other than that, he's been completely open and honest with her. So it's a very strange thing that she just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. And it's like it crawls under your skin and it just kind of like it like dysregulates you, and you can see that in her because like all of their conversations start to get more tense and more halted, you know, like we see them in bed together and Willow's got to go to class and it's just, and he's like, oh, it's gonna be the full moon, I gotta do my wolf thing. But it's like there's this like distance between them already building.
Yes. Yes. And they do a good job with that. I feel like I'm a little bit more forgiving the fact that it is kind of sped up just because like, well, the actor quit. So like we had to speed it up. But I do think it would have been cool to see Veruca like randomly in episodes like passing him by.
Oh,
like,
we do.
Well, no, but I mean like more, like a lot, like more than just like 3 in a row.
Yeah, because it was like one episode or so before that they like kind of caught eyes.
Yeah. Like I think that would have been cool if they're like, oh, Oz just happens to keep running into this random girl who's in a band throughout the season, and then it like blows up towards the end. I think that would have been cool. But again, I'm forgiving because it's like, what could they do to the actor?
Right.
So they, after the bronze, I mean, you mentioned this, Dana, the next morning, it's like, starts off cute, but then quickly gets awkward.
It's kissing cousins on the next morning.
Kissing? Who's kissing? No one's kissing.
And then another thing happens to like shake the ground beneath Willow's feet, and that is that Buffy is doing well academically in Professor Maggie's class.
I love that Willow, again, because they're just such good best friends. I love when Willow's like, I'm jealous, I'm getting over it. Now I'm happy for you. Wow, that's great. And then it's like, wait, she wants you to present? Now I'm jealous again. Like, it's so cute. And to y'all's point, like Buffy, I do like that we are not hit over the head with that too much. It's not like a plot point. It just like is, yeah, Buffy's also smart.
Yeah, and just Willow getting so excited for her and saying, you made me academically jealous of you. It's such a cute, pure moment. And I love that they both look at each other in excitement and then hug. And I know you've talked a lot, Ian, about how even though distance grew between the two actors in real life, their friendship is so beautiful on the screen. And moments like that really just reinforce that those two characters have this unconditional love for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, like they just are chosen family, and it's like I think her and Willow bond pretty quickly. God, I'm like emotional today. I'm like, why am I welling up? I don't understand.
I wonder why you're emotional today on Wednesday, November 6th, 2024 that we're recording.
Because
I took a shower in the dark.
Yep, same.
I always think of what Kirsten White said this when we revisited Welcome to the Hellmouth for a 25th anniversary, that like, she was like, as a writer, this is why I loved the show immediately, because Buffy makes the decision to be friends with this girl. Buffy immediately is like, I don't like that Cordelia made fun of her. I'm going to go sit with her. And that like tells you all you need to know about Buffy from that first episode. Like, oh, she's literally, it's only because Cordelia was awful to Willow that Buffy goes to be like, hey, you know, and like, that is such a good way to show us that Buffy is really kind. And like, I hadn't really like thought about that moment that much, but Kirsten was like, no, that's like such a big moment to show us who Buffy is. And it really is, because that really sums her up, right? She doesn't, even if she's annoyed by someone, she doesn't want them being like mistreated or
and they become ride or die like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Buffy's kindness is not something that gets talked about a lot when her character is being discussed. I mean, I think we've talked about it on here a bit, but she is a very kind person at her core. She's not just strong. She's not just a badass. She's not just funny and witty and smart. She's also kind. And I genuinely think that kindness, because it's rooted in empathy, is one of the most important traits a person can possess. And we could all learn a little lesson from Buffy.
I'm staying stone-faced so I don't cry.
Sorry.
Next is lunch with Veruca.
Yeah, next is lunch with Veruca and Amp Chat.
Oh, love
boy.
Amp Chat.
Look, I'm a fucking musician and I barely know what the fuck they're talking about. I'm just like, oh, jerking off motion, cum motion.
Right. She's like, what about that skibbity toilet whiz amp? And he's like, no, I like the crunchy granola. And of course Willow's like, what the? Oh, sure, I love granola too.
I know.
And they're
it's
like,
so
no, honey, we're not talking about real fucking granola,
Yeah,
okay?
and he's so dismissive.
he like tries to be nice about it, but it's like so embarrassing. I don't know what the proper way to handle that was, because I feel like it just is embarrassing, but like he's like, no, honey, blah blah blah. Anyway, back to the amps, and it's like, God, like,
right. And like Veruca is like giving her the stink face, like giving Will the stink face. Like it's obvious that she has contempt for this girl, and that is not a cool thing to just like. If somebody was giving my wife the stink face, like while I was talking to them, I'd be like,
right, even if they were this hot woman that you're like, wow, they're
right,
hot.
especially
like,
if they were a hot woman.
I just there's something so feral about Veruca, because she is so much more in touch with the wolf in a way that she's not trying to compartmentalize herself. And she just is not shy about letting that aggressiveness show. And there is nothing wrong with being an aggressive woman. There's nothing wrong with being forward, but she's not being forward.
Right.
She's being a bitch. And she's not being super subversive. She is also trying to essentially steal someone who is partnered, who is monogamous, and she's being overt about it, but in a way that she's like almost being cheeky, and that makes it so much worse.
It just feels more condescending, right? Like, and I mean, when Oz, I also can't believe Oz leaves them together. It's like, dude, like
he leaves his fucking coffee too.
He probably was like, I gotta get out of the situation.
I do like that Veruca's counter to him saying big lunch is, I like to eat. But then she goes on to make fun of, people with potential eating disorders. And I'm just like, guys, can we not? I know what year it is when we wrote this, but can we not, please?
I thought you were going to make, but yes. Well, because I feel like they're definitely going for Veruca is not a nice person. Like, I don't think there's any part of her that is like, we're supposed to like.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess they're giving her the like properly despicable villain treatment.
Also, she was eating like a chicken sandwich and some fries. Like, okay, Oz, chill the fuck out. Right, like, it's not that big of a lunch, okay?
When I moved back home, I remember I went to Wawa once, and my dad was like, "Oh, someone's really hungry," and I was like, "Don't comment on my food. Don't say that." Good. And my mom was like, "Yeah, what are you doing?" And my mom like yelled at him too. Was like, "Don't do that." I was like, even if it is, shut up. Like, and then he leaves them, and then Veruca leaves and says, "I really liked your shirt."
Shade. And then like Buffy walks up, right? And she's like, and Willow she already knows. She's like, mm-mm.
Yeah. Willow says, "How come you didn't tell me I look like a crazy birthday cake in this shirt?" And Buffy goes, "I thought that was the point," which is just like the most supportive friend thing you can do, because she's like, why would I judge you for what you're wearing? Because I know what kind of clothes you like to wear. Yeah. This is your style, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Like, but you like dressing like a crazy birthday cake. That's okay.
Right.
It'd be like me saying to someone, "How come you didn't tell me I was dressed like a slut?" It's like, because that's how I dress. I mean, all I'm wearing right now is a fucking nightie.
Well, nothing wrong with it. I also support your fashion sense.
Thank you.
I love Buffy. Buffy is just so good in this episode and so supportive, ride or die best friend.
Oz has to go because it's getting time. Right. So he goes and locks himself in his crypt, and apparently the weakest hinges in the world have been put on this crypt because it takes him like one boom and he's like knocked it over, and he's out in the city, rampaging through campus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The long blonde wig on Veruca.
It's wild that Professor Walsh does say they kind of look like apes because they do look like weird fucking Chewbacca apes with like wigs on.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's not
They were like,
good.
this one's a girl though.
Yeah.
It's the girl werewolf. Don't
It's-
worry.
The werewolf design
Okay.
on Buffy is definitely not my favorite.
You know, weirdly, I think their first werewolf design
Yes.
was the best one. It looked more old school werewolf horror.
I like that one a lot more, and I don't remember if I was on for the 25th anniversary of that episode. I don't think so. But I feel like I remember hearing people talk about it. Maybe it was on Fangs. But I remember hearing people kind of make fun of it, and I've always enjoyed it. It feels like a more classic monster movie werewolf, like you're saying.
I feel like that one probably was just like not manageable with like movement, probably.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they went with these like weird ape costumes. Because I feel like the like werewolf evolution is so weird because it's like, how do we get to this? Like, why did we land on this?
They're just not canine enough in their movements, you know? Anyway, they run into each other, obvi, and they beat the hell out of each other and apparently bang. I'm not 100% sure if what happens. Did they have sex in werewolf form?
Oh, they definitely bone in werewolf form.
Okay, they bone in werewolf form. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I was sure. I was like, we're supposed to assume they fucked, right? Like that's what I was like. But maybe, I mean, because then my brain was like, well, they're naked because they're werewolves, not because they're not naked
but they
because
also
of sex. But
fucked.
Yeah, I think.
To paraphrase Warren Zevon, "Au, werewolves are coming."
Oh no!
I'm so sorry.
And then they head to the laundromat, which actually is my favorite outfit, which we'll get to later. But when Oz like just pulls somebody's random clothes out of the dryer, and it's so like early aughts, and I could see somebody just like wearing that around my campus.
Yeah.
Yes, I probably wore that. Yeah. I also Naked Oz never upset at a Naked Oz.
Of course, I'm sure.
True.
I'm sure.
And with those scratches,
he's devastated. He's totally devastated, and she's kind of like, "It's all good, man." Like,
she's having a great
time. And then
time.
she moves her head and does these like movements.
Also, really everyone, if you're not watching this on YouTube, please watch this on YouTube because the body movements that Dana just did were delightful.
Thank you. Just
I can't tell if maybe I don't like her acting or if it's just like the character is just like
we're supposed to hate her guts.
Yeah, so
she does fine at it.
That's true. Yeah, Oz is spiraling. We already mentioned this, but they had chase Professor Walsh. We get Willow and Oz. He's like looking through the newspaper, and I love the detail of Willow's kind of like dressed like sexy Willow.
Yes.
Right? Like she's got like the leather pants.
She's dressed like Veruca.
Yeah. She's got like the shiny lip gloss.
Did she borrow those pants from Buffy?
Right. But I like that it's like her like sexy slutty look, but it's still Willow. Like she still has a flowy top that has like a floral print on it. So it's like still Willow, but like Willow with faith in her body or something.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for her because it's not crazy that Oz would be like, we're in between werewolf cycles. Like, I got a lot going on. Not right now.
Right.
But like, because of everything else, it's like, and she's so hurt and she's so good at acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just kind of like scuttles out of the room and
her sad faces are devastating.
Her sad faces make me cry so much that I will tell you both to be completely honest. I did not watch this the very end. I was like, I can't watch her and Seth Green crying at each other because I'm too emotional today and it'll make me cry too much.
Yeah. I watched this episode at 9 a.m. before I had therapy because I knew therapy was going to be heavy for multiple reasons.
Right, yeah.
And I was just like, I can't watch this today after I have therapy. I gotta do it before.
And do it after the healing. We do it before to add to the damage.
Is the next scene when Buffy goes to see Giles?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was
this scene.
No, I thought it was when Willow goes to Xander.
No, that's next. Because it is crazy that Xander is in like Xander and Giles are barely in this episode. I'm sure those actors were very happy about this episode. She tells Giles about the werewolves.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And
but the moment when she knocks on the door and he answers it and he's so excited to see her, and she has this look where she's like, do I make a joke? No, because this is kind of sad. Giles is too excited to see me. So she just kind of does this little like, thing with her face and then walks in. And it's,
yes.
again, it's just a great little acting choice from SMG.
Yeah, I love he says something like, you come in business, I hope, and she's like, lucky for you, people may be in danger. Like, it's cute. You know, I think my hot take about this season is I like Xander in the first half. Like, he's portrayed pretty well. Because this and Be or Bad,
Mostly.
most. Not but like this and Be or Bad, I like the goofy supportive friend role of his. That's for me when he shines. It's like, okay, if we can and I like that Giles is like, well, did you talk to Oz, to Buffy? Because like, yeah, duh, talk to Oz about it. And then Xander's advice is also like, oh, we'll talk to Oz. I hate, not like hate, but I like, it bums me out because this happens in real life that Xander and Buffy both reassure Willow that Oz would never.
Well, because he wouldn't ever, except that he did.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Because I've definitely been there. There was I confessed feelings to someone because I had 3 of my friends being like, no, he likes you, do it. He clearly likes you. And the man was so caught off guard, he went, what? And I was like, oh. So like friends can give incorrect advice sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes being the encouraging friend is not the best course of action.
Yes. And I even like that Xander, when he says to Willow, I was like, oh, he's not even making a like gross sex joke when he's like, if you're old enough to do it, you can say what it is. Like, I do like that because he is right there, right? It's like, just say you had sex, no big deal. I like that he differentiates between like wild monkey love or like tender Sarah McLachlan love.
Sorry, we skipped over one thing I wanted to mention, which is that Giles is watching some variation of Jeopardy, and the person gets the question wrong, and he goes, that dinette set should be mine.
Just like, and it's the most random question, like hard question that like probably no one on Earth except Giles would know the answer to.
Yeah.
So we go back to Oz. Buffy goes to see him. I have to point out, it is so sometimes, I mean, again, on Buffy, you're just like, sure, whatever. But I love that it's like, he has like all that welding equipment and he knows how to use it. And he's just like, oh, I'm welding this cage. What do you mean? And Buffy's
I
like,
100% believe that he knows how to do that.
That's fair. It's just like, there's so much to it. And I'm like, where is this crypt? And like, did they build this? But Oz is such a side character, but why Seth Green quit, that it's like, fine, whatever. Like, if Buffy had that, it would be weird.
I assumed that when the high school blew up, Oz started scoping out places to wolf out during the full moon, and so he found a crypt in the cemetery and partially reinforced a gate in there. And that's why he already had the welding equipment.
Okay, so you think the gate was built? It wasn't like the gate was there and then they just...
I don't think I considered that.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, it was just, I just was thinking how goofy it is to see him in all that like equipment. And Buffy's like, hey, Oz. So like, we are supposed to assume Buffy kind of thinks he's bullshitting, right? Like, I feel like she like knows something. Up. Yeah. Because he's kind of just like, oh, I have no idea.
I mean, her job is to suss out monsters. And so she's got to have some clue that something's going on.
True. Yeah, that's true. He gets like a voidy. We get a very of the era montage where Veruca is singing. Oz is like, in bed pondering. Season 4 does this a couple times early on in the season. Never works. But, of the time. He goes to his cage, and who shows up at his cage?
He invites her.
Oh, that is true. You are right. He does invite her.
Yeah, he invites her because he's like, this will keep us and everyone else safe, or whatever the fuck he says. And I know his intentions are good, but there is definitely the wolfy part of him who's
Yeah.
like, no, we need to fuck.
Yeah. 100%. Like,
And it,
I
yeah.
do think that's like, yes, I think that that is the wolf like coming out, because we see with her, she embraces both. And
Mm-hmm.
we do learn later on that that's kind of the way it can work, like when he
Mm-hmm.
comes back. So yeah, I do like the idea of like, I'm so horny, I can't control it because we're werewolves.
now, now I'm just imagining the honk if you're horny sketch from I Think You Should Leave, but it's a werewolf behind the wheel of the car.
Just big werewolf.
Do you have any magazines or a calendar?
And of course, she goes in, and the next morning when they wake up naked, Willow sees them.
But
And
wait. An important thing, I think an important part of this is that Oz grabs her before he wolfs out and starts kissing her.
Yep. And the way he grabs her is hot.
Yeah.
And only, I mean, like, that would be hot for me if, like, my dom did that to me and she, like, knew I was okay with it. So I'm applying it to that. But in this context, it's like, oh, whoa, okay. That intensified very, very quickly.
I do think what you just said, I feel like she wants Oz to be like, she wants, I feel like it's almost like she's doing like Bratty Bottom with him, where she's like,
She is Bratty
yeah.
like that's what she was like going for. We were going for that vibe, which is not normally a thing we see with Oz too. Normally he's like, all right, like,
yeah.
Although I feel like sometimes those quiet ones are the ones that like then can really lay it down. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting because I love him and I want him to be like that. Anyway, Dana, before I get more horny about Oz, where are we?
Okay, then so we have the same scenario, right? There's a moment right as they wolf out that they like link hands, like so we know that it's happening again. And then, you know, they naked wake up in the crypt. And Willow shows up to, you know, be like, hey, you know, you must be exhausted from wolfing. Here's some coffee and donuts. And she sees them naked together. And Veruca's totally like, ha ha ha, bitch.
Yeah, she really is.
Meanwhile, Oz is mortified.
Yeah.
And then Willow runs away and almost gets run over by a car. But
yes,
Riley saves her and then says one of the most unhelpful things you can possibly say to someone who is having SI, which is, whatever it is, it's not worth hurting yourself over. Like, oh, thanks for invalidating and minimizing my feelings. Aren't you like, a psychology major?
Riley. Classic.
Like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a fucking psychology major. He should not be saying things like that. And the hopelessness and the casual SI that Willow is having is very common for neurodivergent folks after a major rupture or a breakup. And it just, even though it's a little bit abbreviated, it does feel very apt for displaying that feeling.
Now I do really quick. I just want to touch upon when Oz says to her, yeah, I know what it feels like.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, she's right though, dude. Like, this is very different. Like, they were kissing and about to die, and like, y'all were naked in a like cage together. That is a little different.
Yeah.
But I know it's just like he's just trying to like grasping at anything. But yeah.
Well, and she wants him to. She feels like he doesn't want her anymore, and so she says to him like, did you want her in like that animal way? And he yeah, it's obvious he did, you know, and that hurts her because she can't give that to him.
And we just saw her feeling rejected by like when she's trying to like have sex with him. So yeah, I do think a part of me is like, I get it, dude. You're trying to find something about, but like, it's not the same. Back to your point about the Riley scene. I do love Buffy mouthing. Buffy's so good, supportive best friend here when she mouths, thank you, to Riley and is like, I'm going to take her home. Like, she knows how to deal with Willow in the way that like your best friend would know. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like a best friend knows that. Like these are like childhood best friends. I mean, granted, they're 18 or 19 here, but like, you know, this is like, I feel the friendship there. And like, she brings her home, and Buffy feeling bad that she has to go do her monster hunting thing while leaving. Like, I just love that she's like turning around like a bunch of times. Like, are you sure? Are you going to be okay?
Do you want
And
something chocolatey?
and I like, I love, because this is how I am when she's like, okay, I love you, okay? And then like leaves. And like Willow's like clearly sad, but I'm like, oh, Buffy, you're being such a good best friend. Like,
And she will, because she's like, I gotta go get Veruca now. She's like, I gotta go kill your boyfriend.
Don't worry, I'll kill the girl
partner.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill the person your boyfriend cheated on.
All right, you'll feel so much better when this is over.
Yeah, I got you. Because she does quickly decide, like, okay, well now I can kill her. Like, I like that Oz isn't an option there. Like,
right,
it's just Veruca.
Well, and then she goes to Oz and they team up to find her, and it's just like no questions asked. She's like, this is what we're doing. He's like, okay. And then at one point he tries to sort of have an emotional conversation with her, and she says, now might be a good time for your trademark stoicism. And she's fucking right, because it's not the right time.
She does not want to hear it.
She does not. Like, you like really emotionally destroyed her, like one of her like the like person she loves most at this point, right? And like, so like, dude, you're not gonna do it. So just
you're not talking your way out of this situation.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar is like, her stern face. Like, I would also shut the fuck up, right? Like, I go, yep, you're right, Buffy. Sorry,
sorry, mommy.
Yeah.
Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry.
Seriously, but I love that. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I said Slayer. Sorry.
And then we see that Willow is one of her like bad attempts at doing a spell. I
don't know if it's a bad attempt. I think she had some stuff going.
Does she stop herself, or does she stop because Veruca walked in?
She stops herself. She looks at Oz's picture. She's about to like throw it into the fire, basically cursing him to a life of no love. And she's like, shit, no. And she doesn't. And it all smashes.
Yeah.
That's what
and then Veruca walks in and is like, hey, I'm going to kill you so I can steal your boyfriend.
We like really escalated pretty quickly. Like, now we're like, her boyfriend cheated on her with me once, and now I'm going to murder her. Like,
I mean, I think it's enhanced because of the wolf thing.
Yeah.
No, because she
has
and it's almost someone who is like her.
Yeah, and it's almost time for them to turn. And like, as we discussed, like, Veruca does embrace the inside her. There's one wolf, because
the duality.
Like, there's like, it's like she has become that. Like, that is So yeah, no, I do.
Inside you, there are two wolves. They're both bitches.
We pretty quickly escalate this part too, but she literally runs into, is it Riley, or is it just like nondescript military man?
It's nondescript military man. My guess is it's Riley, but she and Oz get separated, and Oz is like sniffing out Veruca's scent, and they realize that she has tricked them by putting her clothes somewhere else to trick Oz's scent, and that she is actually going to be going after Willow. So they are running to go get Willow, and Buffy gets cock-blocked by by the initiative.
And then Veruca is ready to murder her, and Oz comes in and murders Veruca. It's like, there's something that's like weirdly brutal, because we don't see Oz ever like do anything like he's never aggressive, but he like comes in and fucking murders her. I mean, granted, she was gonna kill Willow, so like, I feel bad, but it just it feels like brutal, right? Because it's like the most peaceful character,
right? Well, and Oz says when he's the wolf, he doesn't like, it's like a completely separate thing. He doesn't know what's going on or is aware of it. And so the wolf that Oz has inside of him is very dangerous.
Yeah. And that this kind of shows us that. Yeah. And then, man, Buffy's face when she like shoots Oz and then immediately looks over at Willow, and you can see she's like so hurt for Willow. it's so good. And then Allison Hannon's crying face kills me every fucking time. Jesus Christ.
Wait, my question. What did they do with the body?
That is a good question.
What did they do with
Incinerator.
all the bodies?
I
Because
don't
like
know.
werewolves don't
Because
go poof.
it's a college student. It's not just like
I didn't even think about that.
she's
You're right.
like a
It's
legit college student who's in a popular band. She's going to be noticed missing.
I mean, it's still Sunnydale.
True. It's like, well, someone went missing. Who cares? It happens all the time. But you are right. It's like they that's a murdered college student just like in one of the science labs.
Yeah.
But also maybe like someone's like, oh, this gorilla got killed. Weird. If she didn't like turn back.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Because I imagine that body would be hard to get rid of if it's like werewolf body.
Yeah. Again, Incinerator.
Yeah. We have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I made me think
Yep.
of. How like
Exactly.
more people have been incinerated in this incinerator. There's other bones. Okay, so we get our wrap up. Buffy's kind of telling Giles about it.
About the person, the commando she ran into, and it was like,
Right.
I gotta suss this out because they had some like high grade military equipment.
Yeah, and I like that. I always forget that Giles is like the last one to find out. He doesn't find out who they are until a new man at Buffy's birthday. And I love when it's like Willow and Xander are like, oh, you didn't know? And he's like, who else knew? And they're like, no one, just blah, blah, blah. And Spike. And he's like, Spike knew before me? Like, I was thinking of that because I love that. And then we get our Oz and Willow, like, official breakup.
It hurts so bad.
I understand, like, I know that there are a lot of critiques that I feel like I fully understand of, like, a lot of the men get to have breakups and leave, but, like, the women usually, it's, like, have to die for there to be a breakup. Tara. But, Jenny Calendar. But I do think this is a really well-written, like, mature... She's crying, but of course she's crying because you're upset, but I feel like the way they're talking to each other is, like, very... adult, and I just I like that it's able to be heartbreaking without like super vilifying. I mean, he fucked up, but right, he's not being like an asshole. He knows he fucked up,
Right.
and that's why he's leaving.
Well, he doesn't want to hurt her.
Yeah,
right.
At the core of it, he doesn't want to hurt Willow,
yeah,
and this is the only way he can protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to hurt anybody.
True.
And that's the whole thing. This experience with Veruca showed him that he's even more capable of causing pain than he realized because he doesn't have control over that part of him, and that's not who he wants to be.
Yeah, and it's sad, and they cry, and breaks my heart. It's wild that we redo this breakup again at the end of the season when it comes back for an episode, and like, well, we're gonna redo this and make you cry again.
Yep.
But yes, so yeah,
I didn't cry at the second one.
No. Well, I cry, but I then happy cry because I like the Willow Tara at the end when she's like, So I guess that's the end of the episode. I have a little bit of trivia. So
Ooh, this is new.
Sometimes I do trivia if there's trivia for the episode.
No, I love
Angel,
that.
there's like never trivia, so like I think I've done it for like 3 episodes. Joss Whedon had originally envisioned the love triangle to be for most of season 4, but Seth Green left. I had a lot of people weirdly comment saying, oh, Joss didn't like Seth, and Joss is an asshole, but that is not like Seth Green wanted to leave because he wanted to do movies, and Seth Green left. They had to have a talk about him breaking his contract to like let him out.
Was this also he could be Scott Evil?
No, because the first Austin Powers was 97, so it's the same year that Buffy started.
Just as Joss says, he was heartbroken. In Oz's room, there are posters of 2 bands who performed at the Bronze, Chibo Mato and Velvet Chain. The episode reveals the reason for the connection Oz has been feeling to Veruca over the last 2 episodes. Buffy telling Giles about running into the Commando guys on Halloween, referring to their encounter in Fear itself. Buffy mentions the time she lost Angel and ran away and went to hell. This episode is another hint of like building up to season 6 of Willow like thinking of misusing her magic. Oz's time in Tibet that he leaves for is seen in the comic Retreat Part 2.
Cool.
Yeah. In the comic,
Does
it's
it
like
show
he has a
him
little.
trading the Radiohead record?
I think it's that it's just like they go to Tibet and he like is living there with his nice wife and his like werewolf babies.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the wife then dies because fucking, of course.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And it's like really sad. And when we just keep going and we don't see Oz again in the comics.
Oh.
Now that we're at the end, what was your favorite outfit, May?
I like Willow's crazy cake shirt. It's adorable. It's so Willow. And yeah, I don't know. She looks okay in those flared leather pants, but
She does, yeah.
I like the crazy birthday cake shirt.
That's
It's cute.
It is like a shirt I think of for Willow. Like
Yeah.
if you said that and we weren't talking about this episode, I would know what
Yeah.
you were talking about.
I will say all of Buffy's outfits in this episode are kind of understated and just look nice on her.
Mhm.
You know, none of them are particularly striking, but she looks consistently good throughout the episode.
Dana?
Oz's pilfered laundry day outfit.
All right, you said that already. You spoiler, I forgot you did say that. Mine is actually, I do like Buffy's like back end of the episode outfit. Weirdly, she wears that like deep red leather jacket.
Yes, that is a nice one.
Weirdly, she wore that almost that exact outfit in the last werewolf episode.
Mm.
The
It's
reason
her
I
werewolf
realized it
jacket.
is because when she puts up the gun, I was like, I have a screenshot of this, but it's not from this episode. Where's it? Why do I have a screenshot of this already? And then I was like, oh, it's because she wears that same jacket. Anyway, things I noticed doing my stupid covers that I do of like, I'll like study their outfit to make sure the figure's accurate because that's important. Favorite scene, Dana?
That's a good. I mean, I knew you were going to ask me this, but why?
So you've been doing this for a long time.
I'm going to say the breakup scene, just because it was really well done. Yeah. They both really acted their little hearts out. It was well written. Like it just was a good piece of acting and a good piece of like story for Buffy.
Yeah, May.
The post-psych class conversation between Buffy and Willow about Buffy doing so well and Willow being academically jealous of her. It's such a sweet, pure friendship moment. And those are some of my favorite moments on the show in general.
Yeah, same. Dana, same as you. And it's not because it's enjoyable to watch the breakup scene, but it's just so well acted and well written and everything about it's well done. I love when you can do a scene like this without. And again, Oz was in the wrong, but I like that no one's being like super villainy and we're not making it so we hate him. It's just like, I hurt you. This is awful. And I'm going to leave because I don't want to hurt you again. And she still doesn't want him to leave, even though he did do the thing and did hurt her. Like she just doesn't want that. So I really like it. What do we think Dawn would have been doing in this episode if she would have been in this episode, May?
Oh gosh. I think she probably would have been making snide comments about Veruca. Yes! because Dawn loves Willow.
Yeah.
And there's no way. I know a lot of people hate Dawn. I've talked on here before about how I do not hate Dawn.
I don't hate
Dawn is a surprisingly insightful young woman.
Yeah.
And I think she would have seen right through Veruca's bullshit and right through the hazy spell that she has cast on Oz. And she would have been like, why is Oz looking at her that way? He should be looking at Willow that way. And she would have just been making all these snarky comments. Someone would have gotten annoyed with her and told her to shut up. And then at the end of the episode, she'd be standing there with her arms crossed doing the Dawn, like, I told you I was right face. Yep, exactly like that.
Yeah, that tracks, Dana.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say the exact same thing, May. Exactly.
So
fantastic.
Mine isn't too far off. It's just slightly. I say that Dawn would have ended up, for some reason, been the one staying with Willow when Buffy's like, all right, I gotta go. Like, and Dawn would have been there, and Dawn would have then been like just nonstop insulting Veruca while she's like cuddling in bed with her like cute sister aunt person that like she loves. What grade do we give this episode, Dana?
Well, this is an A. This is an A episode.
All right. May?
Agreed. Solid A.
All right. I give it a B+, but I I don't know. I feel like I could go to an A. 'Cause
Gotta
it
be
is a good episode.
contrary.
I know. Well, that's what I put down.
You can do an A- if you want.
You know what? We'll bump it up to an A-. How about that? I am an easy grader. It's just today I had 2 students. Papers are like, at this point, like 3 weeks late. And they were like, I'm so sorry. I promise I'm working on it. I'm just really, really overwhelmed and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, you talk to me. It's fine. You're fine.
Yeah. The world's on fire. I get it.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But also that is like my Puerto Rican mother, where she's like, oh, but my baby, it's okay. Like I get very like that. Like I'm like, oh, but you look upset. So you're fine. Like, you know what? Don't even do the paper. No, not that bad. Thank you both for joining me. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being part of the Patreon if you're listening on Patreon. Dana, tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, I am slowly but surely exiting Twitter because I just can't after all of this. So I am making my way to Blue Sky. So I'm Dana Piccoli over at Blue Sky. You can always find me on Instagram at Dana Piccoli. I'm going to try to do more TikToks too, and I'm Dana Piccoli over at TikTok.
Nice.
You know, I did, for every Agatha episode, I did like a short TikTok reaction. I was like a little intimidated by it, but then like it's like you get the hang of it, right? It's like you kind of. I'm still not fully in the hang of it, but I'm like getting there, and it's like, all right, it's I guess just like any other social media platform, right? At first you're like, oh fuck, and then it's like, yeah, I got this. Yeah. May, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at EversonPoe. That's EversonPoe. My Twitter is currently private because of the block feature change, but if I see that you're like a Buffy fan or a horror fan and you follow me, I will probably allow you to follow me. You can find my music on Bandcamp and streaming services by looking for Everson Poe, 2 separate words. You can hear me here. You can hear me over on Tender Subject, a body horror and cannibalism podcast. We just recorded an episode on The Substance. I'm not sure in the pod time continuum when things are going to be coming out, but if it's out when you hear this, go listen to it. It was a really fun discussion. And then you can hear me every week on the Lady Killers of Feminine Rage podcast.
Zach and I are planning on recording for The Substance for My Bloody Judy.
I love The Substance.
It's my #1 movie of the year.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
That's
I
great.
saw it twice in the theater. It's fucking phenomenal.
If Demi Moore does not get a nomination for that movie, I'm going to be pissed.
I did like it. I didn't love it that much, but I did like it. I feel like my critique, maybe I'm just old. My critique of every movie is like, let's cut 20 minutes. Lately, it's like, I'm just like, come on.
It had like 6 endings. It could have had 3. Yes. Yeah. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and like, again, I still liked it. It's just like, that was my like critique of it.
I personally feel like no time is wasted in that movie, but that's
fair,
just
that's
me.
Fair. There's also, maybe I'll send it to you because I feel like you might appreciate. This is a weird sentence that I'm going to say, but there is a fan cam of The Substance using LCD sound systems, Dance Yourself Clean, that
I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's like 20 seconds. I have gone back to it so much. Like it's made that song be back in my rotation on my playlists again. Like I'm so stupid. I'm like such a like child. I'm like, ooh, baby saw it in like a fan cam. Now I'm gonna listen to that song. So when I hear what is her name? Margaret Qualley? Is that her name?
Qualley.
Yeah. Qualley.
When I can't hear her saying control yourself without the LCD sound system song playing. Like, I'm like,
to
this
be
isn't
fair,
the right
that's
part.
one of their best songs.
It is. It really is. Anyway, yes. Thank you all for listening. Thank you both for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.